let's talk Loki season 2. It is here. It is the continuation of Loki season 1. It's the continuation of the character Loki from the very first Avengers movie. That Loki, the trickster, powers of magic, but he's also pure evil. He's not the Loki that we got to know through the MCU who changed, who had life-changing experiences with his brother. This is a altogether completely different Loki. And I was not a huge fan of Loki season 1. Loki season 2 continues that story and leans heavily into the character of Kang. Let's start with we'll go through the episodes. We've seen the first 4 episodes.
4 of the 6. 4 of the 6.
4 of the 6. The first 2 kind of connect, and then the second 2, 3 and 4, kind of connect, a continuation. Alan, tell us about Loki season 2, and if you want to delineate between the major events from 1, 2, and 3, you can do that. You had access longer than I had.
Yeah, so we're back at the TVA. Kang died, and it caused Loki killed Kang, and it caused the sacred timeline to begin splitting into all these realities and multiverses. And now it's got to be stopped. It's just getting out of control. And so what the TVA has decided to do is they're just going to start cutting off branches of these realities and hopefully cut them all off so that only the sacred timeline remains. And what we've learned is that the people who run the TVA, they're essentially picked out of these timelines, kidnapped, so to speak, and then their minds erased. And so there's a couple things going on here. There are people now trying to save the TVA who realize that they had lives before this and they don't know anything about it and they want to go back to those lives. The other thing is there's Kang, who is in play here. We've teased that he's this great, he's the next Thanos. But in episode 3 and 4, we find out basically episode 3 and 4 is the origin of Kang, and how he is ultimately groomed into.
Well, let me correct you. It's the origin of a Kang.
Yes, but I believe. Kang. Yeah. Okay.
That fair, right? Fair.
Yeah, it's fair, but I think it's a little more than that.
Okay.
And so ultimately what happens is we have these small factions. There's Loki and Mobius. He's the good guy. So he's the one with the more altruistic, end to this to bring things back to order. And then there's the side characters. You called her body positive, whatever.
No, Gary calls her that. Gary calls her that. I don't know the name of the character.
Yeah, I forget the name of the character too. Then there's Ravina and Ms. Minutes who have their own plans for Kang. And so it plays around basically with time. And it sounds confusing and it's hard to explain. But I don't know if you want to get into how we feel about it right now. But
we can get into it. So that's look, basically the TVA is being
body
taken
positive
over.
Time Cup. That's what Gary called it.
Yeah, body positive time cup. There's a scene where because of these, we need to talk about Kihei Kwan's character and then the actual name of that character. He looks at this big screen where we're on these sort of what do they call them? Threads, vines, these
branches.
These branches are disappearing. The branches are other timelines, and she's looking at them going, all of those lives going away. But they're literally looking at a screen, and she delivers the line with, it just doesn't, it's not great.
As if there were mini Holocausts happening. Mini genocides going on.
Yeah. So she's reacting to that, and it's so weightless. Am I wrong? Did it just feel like it didn't mean anything to you?
Yeah, definitely when it was happening, I felt that way. Is like, they're telling us, they're not showing us.
Yes. Yeah. It's not, if they had shown some of this, if they went to some of these other galaxies and showed them collapsing, or at least a vision of that, of apocalypse coming to all these other worlds, and it meant something. Maybe even seeing characters that we're familiar with that couldn't save their universe because of this event. That would have been interesting. But
Yeah.
the way they're telling the story is it's just all on a bunch of sets, including this terrible set where they go to the 1800s where Mr. what's his name? They call Kang in this
Oh, I forget.
it's Mr. Timely.
Yeah, that's it. Timely.
Timely. They call him Timely, Mr. Timely. And he's created this energy invention machine that creates energy, which then you find out immediately that he's a shyster. He's a con man. He's created a show. So he's not a real scientist. He's a fake scientist that does this, puts on this whole act as a way to cheat people out of money and get these rich men to buy the rights to a so-called machine he invented, except he actually didn't invent anything. It's all BS. It's all BS. So I don't think that this is the Kang that will end up being a Kang later. Because, and we're gonna get into spoilers. I'm sorry. It's we're gonna get into spoilers. They somehow need the essence of Kang to be able to use a device that will end this coming cataclysm. Is that a good interpretation?
I understood it as kind of like one of those DNA keys where
Right,
you
a
need the
DNA
actual
key,
person
please.
to unlock or turn on a switch. That was the way I interpreted it.
So they go back and get this Loki and
Mobius.
Mobius go back to to the 1800s. They find another version of Kang, which is this Mr. Timely inventor who's basically a con man and a shyster, ripping people off for money. He's not a real scientist. Or it's weird. They're not really clear because then he's talking to Kihei Kwan's character, and Kihei Kwan, they're like fans of each other. At least they're faking, right? So uh so in any case, and Kihei Kwan, I actually like him. I really like Tom Hiddleston. He's the thing that kept me watching the show was Tom Hiddleston. Um, he's just very good, even when the event seems so weak. Again, this is another case of the script is weak. The script is incredibly weak.
Yeah,
And I
so
don't even know.
this is where you and I are going to start diverging.
Okay. What's
Yeah.
your okay? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me state this, and I think you'll agree with me, but in a weird way. Loki season 2 is the best Marvel Disney Plus show out there.
It's not saying much.
It's not saying much, but would you say it's true?
Yeah.
It was Captain America and Winter Soldier.
No, I'll say this. I'm not going to say it's best or worst because I really have to think about that. I'm saying it's the most watchable because of the lead character, and I actually am invested in his story, except I don't know what Loki wants except to not die. That is what Loki wants. Loki wants to not die and not exist. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, it's branching. That's what
Right.
Okay. So yeah, I think this is the best Marvel Disney show there is right now. And I can't think of one that's better than this. And I'll tell you some of the positives of it. The writing is better in terms of dialogue for the most part. I think I would give you this piece of advice when watching Loki season 2. Binge it. Wait for all 6 episodes to come out. Watch it all at one time, because the first 2 episodes are basically set up. It establishes the rules of time travel in this world. It goes into the branching. It goes into the stakes that the employees of the TVA have, and it gives us some interesting thoughts in terms of people who want to live a normal life or want to go back but don't know where they came from. It establishes some really interesting ideas, some good strong storytelling. And so it establishes these rules about time travel in the first 2 episodes, and then those rules are now in play in the next 2 episodes where I'll call it the origin of Kang here. Whether it's the real Kang or not, that's essentially what's happening here, is that there's a fight over this man who will one day become Kang, and who controls that man. And that's kind of the second half, or the next two episodes, because now a civil war is about to erupt in the TVA. And
Right.
I just found it interesting, and I kind of, I'll say it again. I would prefer to binge this rather than wait week after week to watch it, because I think you'll lose interest in those first two episodes, or there's a danger of that. And then the second thing is, you kind of wish they just pull the Marvel thing out, and just say this is a story, and not connect it to the Marvel universe whatsoever. Because I think it's a more compelling story when you're not sitting there wondering, well, what's Loki doing here? Why is Loki good? What are his powers? When you remove that, it becomes a much more interesting science fiction story. And I think by removing anything Marvel from it, you are no longer tied to it, and you can tell. I think the story would have been more freer in that way. And then the last good thing I'll say about this is, I don't sense an agenda at all in
Yes,
the show.
that's the okay. On the positive side, I don't sense that there's much agenda.
Yeah.
That
Like
the type.
there's no gender message, there's no racial message. There's a use of a word that President Biden used, referring to Ice Cube, that's used, but it's used in a way that integrates within the story, but not in a racial
Are
way.
you talking about boy?
Yeah, the boy word.
Boy?
That's right. And it's just interesting where it happens, and in context with the Mr. Timely character, and because there's a status play at work there, which is in the story. So in terms of, is it woke at the moment at episode 4, it doesn't feel woke at all. LL Cool J, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, yeah, L
So
Cool J.
so again, I will say this is the best Disney Plus, Disney Marvel story. Um, Disney has not done any favors with all the shows in the past in terms of whether you're going to like it or not. I think they have to own the fact that people are soured toward it. And this is, time travel is not an accessible story for the masses, and so it's going to have problems. But from me watching the 4 episodes, I found myself engaged in it, and I genuinely do want to see the last 2 episodes and see how this plays out.
Well, we're gonna see them on November 2nd and November 9th are when episode 5 and 6 come out. But
Yeah.
for now, you and I have seen the episode. I think what we'll do is we'll do a wrap up of the
Yeah.
series. I mean, I'll first of all also, and this is gonna sound like first world problems. When we watch the show, my email address is this big
Yeah.
on the screen, and it's incredibly distracting. And I also like to watch the shows with subtitles on, because sometimes you get more information, like an insignificant character, you'll actually know what the character's name
Mhm.
is, because sometimes they show the name of the person talking or whatever. So I especially when I'm covering something, I'll watch it with the closed captioning on. I wasn't able to do that, and my name was this big on it. It's so annoying. So,
I know.
so we'll do a wrap up of Loki on November, like around November 9th ish, after that final episode airs. I just don't know. Here's my prediction. People are not going to care all that much. You're not going to
Mhm.
see people doing weekly analysis of every episode, because frankly, there's not a lot to talk about. I found the first episode very boring. They kind of lean into the mundane nature of the show. They go to this room and they do this multiple times in the show. Uh, they'll go to this room, and I like Owen Wilson, by the way.
Mhm.
I actually like him quite a bit. I think he's very good. And his character, Mobius, like they go to this, it's Mobius, not Morbius. And Jonathan Majors is listed, he's not listed as Kang in the show. He's listed as He Who Remains.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, Kie Kwan's character is Ouroboros.
Oh, I gotta say something about
Ouroboros.
So we meet Kiwi Kwan early on in the first episode, and there's this thing called the time loom, right?
Yes.
Um, so my Asian brain, every time I hear Kiwi Kwan say time loom, I'm hearing time room. And I'm going, oh, so they're going to a time room, but it's actually the time loom.
Are you saying that he has an accent that makes him
I'm
pronounce his L's
saying,
like
I'm saying,
R's?
whenever I talk to my family members with heavy accents, um, we it's we got the RL thing going on. True story, but um, my grandma my grandmother, when I got married, my wife's name is Lori. She wouldn't my one day my wife called my grandmother and said, "Hi, this is Lori," and then my grandmother would hang up. Uh, she didn't understand why my grandmother kept hanging up on her until my mom told her, "Oh, you need to say you're Rory." And so she did that. She calls my grandmother. It's Rory, and then my grandmother goes, "Oh, hi, Rory. How are you?"
Well,
I mean,
let's
so
talk about
whenever he says time loom, I'm hearing time room, and
well,
it's
let's
just
talk about what are your final thoughts on Roki?
Roki. Roki is Rovery. It's um it's not for everybody. It's very sci-fi. I kind of wish I I kind of wish Marvel was better at this stage, and maybe people would enjoy it more. But I will say I am, for all its problems, I'm engaged with it, and I will see it to the end.
Okay, all right. I I will also see it to the end. I mean, I've invested in the 4 episodes, but I my only reason for caring is, does this tie in somehow with the future of Marvel? I think it does, except I care less and less about the future of Marvel. There's too much
Yeah.
homework to
Mhm.
know everything that's going on. And the fact that, and look, we're going to talk spoilers right now. So anyone who cares about spoilers for season 2 of Loki, or Roki, as Alan's grandmother would say.
Rookie Kuroka.
Yeah,
Okay,
Roki season 2.
Roki.
Uh, I mean, they sort of paint them in a corner with this whole thing, and I just have never gotten a sense. This is both season 1 and 2. Loki's being kind of tortured through all of this.
Mhm.
What is his goal? I still am, it's undefined and unclear, other than to not die and to not exist. Is he supposed to learn a lesson? Like that he's an a-hole? I
Yeah.
feel like we've
Well,
seen that Loki arc already.
yeah, I will agree with you. I think if they don't answer that question by the end, that will say a lot about the future of Marvel and this series specifically. Um, so yeah, I mean, he's the good guy. He's the one we're following. We are living the series through his shoes, through his eyes. And so, I think that's an important question to ask at this moment. And there's not an answer at the moment.
Look, this show, there's one reason to watch this show. Tom Hiddleston. That's
Mhm.
it. He is the reason. And I look, I actually really like Owen Wilson, liked him in
Right.
many things. But uh they even try to push this buddy nature between Mobius and Loki that
Mhm.
doesn't work for me. There's a whole scene where they have this discussion and they're going up a spiral staircase. They go to a room and they're walking together and they're like, are you following me? I was following you. No, you were following me. You're taking the lead. Well, I'm sorry. I don't need to. Like, they start apologizing to each other. And I'm like, no man has ever had a conversation that's like this.
Yeah, but
Like,
I
I'm
think
thinking to myself, like, it was the dumbest. I'm like, what are they
yeah,
even
I
talking
think
about?
but I think
It was
they're but they're I think they know that, and I think they've commented on it. Like the whole scene of him not wanting to see. Now we're getting the spoilers.
go
The
get
question
it.
of whether he wants to know where he came from, and the fact that he doesn't. I mean, I think that says a lot about that conversation, that
Right.
interaction. And again, we're at season. I said this about She-Hulk. Not knowing how it would end. I'm at episode 4. They've screwed me once; they could screw me again. So, I want to think that this is heading in the right direction. But I don't have a lot of confidence that they will. But who knows? They just might. And so I come to this series much more cautiously than I did with She-Hulk.
Yeah, look, Tom Hiddleston's the reason to watch this show because I think we like him. I'd like to see him play another character,
Mhm.
but ultimately, for a show about time, I feel like this is kind of a waste of time because the show being real, not using that even as a joke, the show seems to just be going nowhere, like running in place. That's what I feel the show is to me. We're not getting to a destination, we're running in place with a new problem introduced in each episode. And
Yeah.
then that problem is sort of quickly resolved with just plot convenience.
Let's see, I don't agree with you there. I think when you get into the conflicts that occurs in episodes 3 and 4, I think there's a definite conflict there. I think there's a definite direction that this story is going, and it's interesting to see that I would never have guessed it was that the conflict that happens, it happens between certain characters,
Right.
and then the one who shall not be named or whatever, the one who remains.
The one who
Um,
remains.
yeah, that his role in it is interesting to me. Regarding that character, Jonathan Majors makes an interesting choice in the way he portrays his character. Um, I think from what I heard you talk about on the Nooner, you didn't like it. I'm tolerant of it, and we'll see. And again, they'll probably screw me in episode 6, so uh, we'll see. But it's an interesting choice, not one that I'm particularly fond of, but there you go.
Well, does it eventually lead to an Avengers movie? And
Yeah.
even if it does, would we care? Because it's not going to be the Avengers we're familiar with. It's
Well,
going to
the
be
way
the
I see it,
Avengers. The Avengers going to be the Eternals, Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, Photon. Like, who are even the Avengers now? Is the
yeah,
Hulk in the Avengers? I don't know. Is She-Hulk in the Avengers? I don't know what this, but they throw this out every time they introduce a new character.
mhm,
It's your new favorite Avenger. Well, I need to pay attention because I'm a fan of the Avengers. And you've seen when you look at the box office for all the Marvel movies, go and look up the top box office for all the Marvel movies. All the Avengers movies are bumps. All
yeah,
so you get the thing, you get like Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, fine, Thor 2, Thor, whatever. But like whenever there's an Avengers movie, a bump because it's all those characters in one movie or more than a few of those characters. Okay.
yeah.
So
Well, this is where I predict this series is going to end. It's the birth of Kang.
the
We
birth of
get
the
it. We
Kang,
get an indication of what the threat is.
well,
If we don't, then I don't see where Marvel is headed.
well, just to be clear, it's going to be the birth of the Kang that will be the main antagonist of movies going forward
Yes,
of the
that's
films.
that's where I hope this ends,
So
or
this is
where I hope
kind
it ends.
of the origin story in a way.
Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
that's
that makes sense.
yeah. If they don't, then Marvel is lost.
Well, that's disappointing. Uh, I don't know. It
Yeah,
just it
I
is
mean,
what
because
it is.
otherwise, what's the point of the series?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it's we'll see. We have to wait 6 weeks.